Testing. All right, it is 7 o'clock and we will call the meeting to order. Tracy, do we get a roll call? Okay.
Carrie Ellis. Here. Justin Thomas. Here. Tara Bowman.
Here.
Scott Hoff. Corey Jones. Here. Matt Mecca.
Here.
All right, with that, we have a quorum, and I will read the mission statement of the Palmyra-Eagle Area School District. To ensure that students excel with intellect and virtue, inspired by innovative educators who engage and challenge each individual. Let's all rise for this Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, moving right along, do we have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, do I do a motion for the approval of agenda? Yes. All in favor of the agenda as written? Awesome. All right, now it's time for public comment. I have one form filled out. Anybody else? Last call. Fred, come on up.
Stay.
Is this too loud? Perfect. Okay. There was a letter to the Daily Union back in June to support public schools. I won't read that whole thing, but she said that in Palmyra, marchers rallied at the middle school and were able to use gym and bathrooms, and she gave a pretty good report of all of them until she got down to Fort Atkinson. When marchers got to Fort Atkinson, they were denied access to the middle school bathrooms and access to the high school as a resting place by Superintendent Lynn Brown on the grounds of board policy about facilities being used for political purposes. But this march was organized by nonpartisan groups to support public schools, not any public party. And I read that to set for what I have to say. When I moved here from Illinois in February of 1970, the only thoughts I had about school were that after a short drive about the village, the schools were close enough so my kids could walk there. I was 28 and involved with work in my trade and took no notice when a teacher and administrator seceded from Mukwonago District and an elementary school became part of Palmyra, ergo PEASD. In 1987, a referendum passed to leave the old building in Eagle and build a new Eagle Elementary in Eagle. That did not occur without some squabbling between the two towns, perhaps because of Belinsky, the developer, and EES becoming a blue chip school under the late Donna Calnus. More people began to move to Eagle, village and township with young families. I still took relatively little notice of these developments, having enough troubles of my own, but by 1985, having accepted part-time employment to drive school bus, I began to pay a bit more attention to PEASD as having more effect on my life. The rivalry between Eagle area residents, or should I call it tribalism, and Palmyra also became apparent. Several failed referendums for a freestanding middle school in Waukesha County, Eagle Township, left still more bitterness between Eagle parents and Palmyra. I voted against those, as well as stating my opinions in letters to the editor in the Enterprise. As time progressed and Eagle parents became aware of friendships developed between their children and Palmyra kids, the attentions turned toward a new high school. The one built back in the 60s, I wasn't sure of the date on it. I thought it was 1969, but there's some question there, had become just unacceptable to parents who wanted to see their youngsters in a building that was more architecturally up to date. Our district went through several superintendents for whom, it seemed to me, passing a referendum for more bricks and mortar was a feather in his cap, and his resume gained him another position for more salary elsewhere. It was also fairly obvious to me that candidates for the BOE had kids of their own in school. Self-interest is legitimate political expression. But at one time back in the late 80s or early 90s, we ended up with a couple of bozos who ran for and got on the board because it must have been due to voters' apathy. You might remember these guys. They went on a jaunt to California or Nevada for some school board convention on our dime. I wrote several satires about them attending board meetings. They soon vacated their positions and new members were elected to replace them. I never ran for BOE. My math skills are not adequate for finances. I worked as a custodian at the high school in '91 and became disenchanted with some of the teachers then and what I saw as a waste of our tax dollars. I worked 6 months there and came away with the notion that teaching the masses to read and write does not necessarily advance mankind. One does not need a lot of practical math to observe a waste of materials, poor work habits, and a lax in discipline of students. I saw a principal who became romantically involved with the business manager, teachers who set poor examples for their students. So how could I vote for a new high school that I saw as an institution which bricks and mortars would not fix? At some point in the 90s or early Y2K, another superintendent shifted all the elementary kids from Tremaine to be bused over to EES to relieve overcrowding at PES, which still houses the middle school students from Palmyra-Eagle. The award-winning principal at EES, Donna, soon thereafter retired. Somewhere in there, my grasp of time and dates in PEAS history blurs. We had a superintendent who forged ahead with a plan for an addition to make our high school include middle school, and I voted for that one. I still had a child in school as well. The number of kids on my bus route for EES became fewer as kids left EES to go to Palmyra Middle School. I had been attending BOA meetings as a convenient place to sketch folks who sat relatively still for me, and so it went. I observed parents who ran for and were elected to BOE push for particular programs for their offspring. Several principals followed Donna, and I only learned much after the fact that she was not liked by some women, parents, and teachers. That puzzled me, perhaps because of my position as low man on the totem pole. Anyway, it was one of Donna's successors who fueled some of the discord with EES parents. Meanwhile, open enrollment and school choice allowed parents for whom a better deal beckoned elsewhere to pull their kids from EES. Near the end of my employment with Lakeland, EES was light by 200 students. Despite the drug problem, which affects most, if not all schools, PEASD seems to have become a much better district. Maybe bricks and mortar do persuade staff and parents to want to behave in a manner worthy of the environment. However, all this costs tax dollars and more dollars as our devalued dollar pays for less and less. What to do? Could we have trimmed some pork? For example, the equestrian program, which I'm sure would bring cries of protest for whom this is a sacred cow. But that one item would probably not have made much difference. Since the pending referendum became news back in February through April, I have received several letters from homevestors offering to buy my house. Do they do this by zip codes, homeowners' ages? The vultures are circling. Finally, when the march from Palmyra to Madison began, it was pointed out to me that our administrator, Dr. Bloom, was conspicuously absent. I remained silent about this at the last special board meeting, waiting to see if he had entered the march at another station. I was also told that the super of Milwaukee Schools was there, so where was our boss man? If a 20-mile hike is impossible for him as it would be for me, tell us, please. That may not have pleased all of you, but those are my words.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your continued attendance and support, Fred. We do appreciate it. Administrator reports. Thing tonight. All right. Then I'll move on. We'll move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is approved by one vote, all the items on the consent agenda. And being no changes to the agenda, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All right, motion to approve consent agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Consent agenda approved. Action items. Action item A, consider approval of the 2018-2019 School Health Annual Report.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2018-19 school health annual report.
Any comments or questions? I found it, can I comment? I can. I found it very intriguing that 1,881 people went to the nurse's office and 1,560 of them were sent back to class. I thought that was hilarious. It's like, get back to class, so power to the nurse. All right, all those in favor of action item A, say aye. Opposed? Action item A is approved. Action item B, consider approval of the 2019-2020 Employee Handbook.
Move to approve of the 2019-2020 Employee Handbook.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? There being none, the 2019-2020 Employee Handbook has been approved. Action item C, consider approval of the mentor contracts for the 2019-2020 school year.
Move to approve the mentor contracts for the 2019-2020 school year.
Second.
Any questions or comments? I didn't see these. Were they? Yeah. I
No,
missed-
and you would not have them. We have copies that are hard copies, both Tara for you and Carrie to sign tonight upon your approval. These are veteran teachers that are assigned to newly hired teachers. The dollars come from Title II, which are federal dollars to pay for that professional development.
Thank you. All those in favor of the 2019-2020 mentor contracts, say aye. Opposed? There being none, mentor contracts approved. Action item D, consider approval of the Eagle Elementary PTO as a recognized district support organization for the 2019-2020 school year.
I'll make a motion to approve the Eagle Elementary PTO as a recognized district support organization for the 2019-2020 school year.
Any questions or comments? Do they have to reapply for this every year? Or is this the first time that they've applied?
This is an annual occurrence for all of those organizations
So
that
we'll
wish
see
to be
them all.
recognized by the board, correct?
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Awesome. They are now recognized as a district support organization. District Administrators Report, Dr. Bloom.
Thank you, and well done, by the way. Thank you. A couple of thanks and appreciation I wanted to share. Obviously, you've taken time to approve Lisa Jensen's school nurse report. We're very fortunate to have Lisa here and the collaboration with Fort Healthcare. As you know, they've been a very good partner with us for the last several years. Lisa also has secured the services at no cost to the district of Dr. Don Williams, again, to serve as the district medical advisor. That's part of both our policies as well as state statute to have a medical advisor to be able to, for her to consult with on certain cases that she might need some professional knowledge and awareness of. So we're very fortunate that he's willing to do that, and I do have a letter of thanks to him in the correspondence. Wanted to also thank Lisa and Beth Jones for collaborating on a couple of different things. The Bridging Brighter Smiles, you'll be hearing a little bit more about. We talked about that, and I think Beth mentioned it in her report, certainly last month, if not this month as well. It's basically a free dental kind of a screening, and then the opportunity for some dental services for children and families that might be in need. So you'll hear a little bit more about that once the school year begins. Beth also is representing our district as an advocate with the Jefferson County Drug, Endangered Children and Sensitive Crimes Protocol. You might recall several years ago, Jefferson County developed a countywide truancy plan. This is very similar to that. The plan simply reinforces what by law we have to do anyway in the district. So there are certain things that employees have to do relative to mandatory reporting, for example, of child abuse, those kinds of things. This just sets this into a countywide document that we all agreed to do these things. So it's good, and it's a protection and safeguard for our children. Wanted to thank Ann Pop and all the school secretaries for their work during the online registration and then the face-to-face registrations. We've had a number of folks, both new to the district as well as those that were not able to do the online registration, come in and do so. The registration and enrollment, as you know, this time of year changes every day and sometimes several times during the day. The truest test will be when we open the doors Tuesday, September the 3rd, and then we issue the third Friday count in September. That's really, we get a better hard and firm number in terms of enrollment in the district. Wanted to also wish good luck to our student athletes and coaches for upcoming fall sport seasons. I think we're a week or two away from a football game. And cross country will be active, of course, and volleyball. So we've got a lot of things up and running. Again, some of them begin actually before the first day of school, such as the football season. Wanted also to give you an update on some of the facilities work. First of all, the South Gym, the high school gymnasium, is in the process of being striped, lined, and painted. They believe that 2 weeks from today, if all goes well, it will be cured and sealed and appropriate and ready for utilization. Also wanted to give you an update on the roofing project. They are done as of yesterday. There will be a punch list done with a thorough inspection on Monday the 19th. You might recall that I had indicated that they had found some areas that were in excess of what we originally had estimated the repairs to be. That number has come in at $7,140, so significantly less than what we had thought. You might recall that on the 17th of July, we did have some water get into the building because of the pop-up storm. Kelman will have a final report on that. I've given you updates as I've gotten them from Kelman Restoration. If you have time, you're welcome to go visit the band room, which was most heavily impacted. All the ceiling tiles have now been replaced. All the lights, all the fixtures have been replaced in that particular room. Mr. Armand's room was also impacted. A couple of other rooms in the Sue Fisher, Pat Kilty, Ag room area. Again, ceiling tiles have been replaced and ballast replaced where appropriate. As you might suspect, insurance is going to be involved in trying to determine fault and liability and those kinds of things moving forward. But there should be no problem at all beginning the school year. And with the roof being repaired and being done properly, it will be a safe facility for kids and staff to be in. The other thing I would mention is that Tracy and I met with our policy consultants. We'll have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 30 policies to present to curriculum and policy in September. Most of them are what we would refer to as editorial changes. So, for example, school board now becomes board, so they're very minor adjustments and very little of substance. I believe, if I recall, one new policy, and all the rest were revisions, so it should be a pretty easy conversation to have. Correct. That's the employee handbook. Correct. Open house back to school nights are scheduled. Middle school, high school, Tuesday, August the 27th, 4:30 to 6:30. Both elementaries, Wednesday, the following evening, the 28th of August, also the same time, 4:30 to 6:30. Staffing continues to be a challenge. I think we have 3 or 4 positions that are currently either in the process of being interviewed or will soon be interviewed and vetted for candidates for teaching positions what we plan to have in place prior to the start of the school year. Would also mention that we are doing the annual return welcome breakfast for staff and retirees that are in the area that would like to attend. That is scheduled for Thursday, August the 29th from 7:30 to 9 a.m. in the morning. So if you are available, you're more than welcome to join us. Thanks in advance to Annette Kozlowski and food service staff for preparing that. And my final item would be the Region 13 WASB regional meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October the 3rd at 6 o'clock. If any of you are interested, and you should have actually gotten that communication either by mail or email from WASB, let either Tracy or I know and we can get you registered if you'd like to attend. The main topic would be the state of current 2019-2021 state budget and a legislative update moving forward. So that's my report for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bloom. Does the new policy have anything to do with the president skipping meetings? Anything like that? We should get one in there.
It does not.
We need to look into that. All right. Any announcements and board comments? School board vacancy.
I'd like to make a comment.
Okay.
If I could, please. 2 things. First, I want to, because it has been put out there quite a bit in different social media platforms about my involvement with a Facebook page, Eagle and Palmyra Together Forever. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. That site was created about 5 years ago now, during the annexation fight in McGuanago. I did not originally set up the page. Someone else did and then asked me to moderate it. I did that, absolutely loved it, enjoyed every minute of it. But I want just everyone to know that that position, I gave that up completely as of September 27th of 2018. I have had absolutely no involvement with that Facebook page since then. So I just want to make that clear. And then second, as a board member, I want to just give a huge shout out to our principals for everything that they have done this summer in filling all of the vacancies that we have had. I think we're roughly at 30 vacancies over this summer, and they have just done an absolutely fantastic job filling those vacancies. And then also, especially Carrie Tim, at the middle school, high school level with dealing, it's one thing for an elementary school to fill a 4th grade teacher position. At the middle and high school, you've got multiple teachers teaching multiple classes. So it's a big puzzle that they've really had to put together and fight to keep together. And just doing a phenomenal job. So I just want to put my appreciation out to all of them for what they have done this summer.
Thank you, Carrie.
And I too would like to jump back to where I should have spoke.
Oh.
I did want you all to know that we had our annual audit 2 weeks ago. Everything was exactly as I've presented all year. And I expect that in November or December, we'll have the booklets by the time the auditors finally get them done. And everything went great.
You mean we're not spending money recklessly? Oh, man. What am I supposed to say about the school board vacancy?
So we've made public that we have a vacancy on the school board. We thank Mrs. Amy Wild for her service, but Amy has decided to resign her position. That position is now vacant. We have made it aware to the general public. It's on our Facebook page, our district website, Connect 5 went out and so forth. We did a press release. Any interested member of the community that is qualified can certainly express an interest in writing to me. I would then bring that information to the board. In essence, state law indicates that a board seat that is left vacant has to be filled within 60 days of its being vacant. So we have 60 days. If no one steps forward, the board president is invested with the opportunity to appoint someone for that position.
Mr. Turner, did you want to join another board by chance? No? Okay, all right, moving on. Okay, ponder away. We would welcome it. Upcoming meetings and events. Curriculum and Policy Meeting, 5:00 PM Thursday, September 5th, at the district office, conference room. Building and Grounds Committee meeting, 6:00 PM Tuesday, September 10th, in this room. Finance Committee meeting, 6:20 Tuesday, September 10th, in this room. Public Relations Committee, 6:40 Tuesday, September 10th, in this room. And the regular board meeting will follow all of those at 7:00 PM, September 10th, in this room. I will now take a motion to go into adjourn to closed session. The board will consider a motion to move to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.851G, to wit, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is likely to become involved.
I'll make a motion to go to closed session.
All those in favor? Does that be a roll call? Roll call vote, please.
Carrie Ellis,
Yes.
Justin Thomas. Yes. Tara Bowman.
Yes.
Scott Hoff. Corey Jones. Yes. Matt Mecca.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for coming. Sincerely appreciate your attendance, and we will see you next month.